Hey, I'm Mark. I've got a few tips and tricks to survive Cindered Shadows. This side story doesn't play exactly like the main game, so it's understandable if you've been blown back. I'll do my best to keep things as succinct as possible. As such, I've recorded some visuals in order to assist me. We're only going through Chapter 1 and 2, but that should give you a feel of the rhythm. Before anything else, look at your characters and check their stats and abilities out. Even if you've played the main game, these guys won't necessarily play exactly like they did there. Everyone in your starting party has 2 advanced classes. Everyone, that is, except for Byleth and Hilda, who only have an intermediate and an advanced class. Still, each character does have 2 different classes to work with. Byleth has the Swordmaster class and the Priest class. The Swordmaster class has higher damage, better base stats, better growths, higher movement, a higher crit rate. Yeah, that's it. The Priest class has access to magic, it can heal, and also occasionally throw a fireball, but the Swordmaster class will most likely be doing more damage with a sword. Priest class is if you really need a second healer on Chapter 1, or a 4th healer anytime after that. Edelgard has Warrior and Fortress Knight. Warrior helps her kill faster, move faster, and hit harder. Fortress Knight's a tank, through and through. Warrior may seem like a better class overall, and generally, I would personally say it is. But, depending on your playstyle, you might really want someone that can just really take a pounding. Dimitri has Hero and Paladin. Hero has better growths and uses lighter weapons. It's also a little faster, but Paladin has more movement and is a little stronger and tankier.
Did you know that if Dimitri hops off of his horse, he only has 1 less speed than Hero? He also has 1 more movement.
God, who balances this shit? Claude has Wyvern Rider and Sniper. While Sniper has Bowfair, Wyvern Rider does have 2 more strength. You'll only be losing 3 damage, and your axes will deal 5 more damage if you use them. It's also got more speed, and it can move after attacking, like Paladin. Linhardt's Bishop class deals less damage, but it heals more health. With 4 movement either way, the differences are slight. Personally, I prefer Bishop. A dedicated healer is nice to have in this mode. Ashe has Sniper and Assassin. Sniper's bow range lets him hit farther away with more damage. Assassin helps him double certain enemies, gives him 6 movement, and makes sure he won't be attacked because he's a ninja. Friendly reminder he can pick locks in any class though. Hilda has Warrior and Pegasus Knight. Warrior deals more damage, but Pegasus Knight can fly and dodges a little better. Her battalion can't be used in the air, but she can still be a real big help. Her personal ability, for example, allows any man nearby to deal 3 extra damage. Leave it to Hilda to get other people to do her work for her. Still, with Death Blow, she'll be able to deal damage in any class she's put in. Next up, battalions. We don't have too many to work with, but that just makes it easier to make decisions. You don't really have to change them around, so just take your time, look them over, and think about the ways that you can use them. Most battalions can use their gambits to immobilize and weaken more than 1 enemy at once. This lowers HP, movement, and stats overall. Also, Byleth causes the 3 house leaders' gambits to do more damage if their target is within his attacking range. They'll return the favor as well, but remember, they have to be within attacking range of the enemy. It's not about how close they are to each other. This also boosts accuracy as well. Even if a specific enemy has a charm stat that's really high, it won't help them dodge if they're in the splash zone either. Ashe's gambit is a little unique though. Retribution, which many players might know from the main story, gives the ability Distant Counter. Anyone who's fought the Death Knight knows exactly what this ability means. No matter what kind of attack, be it a sword, an arrow, or a bolting, you'll be able to hit right back at him. This effect lasts for 5 turns, and you can use it twice a battle, which means 10 whole turns of Distant Counter. Fair warning, this skill doesn't entirely work with bows. If you do want to give Distant Counter to someone like Claude, it's best to have him use an axe instead. The final parts to building the character are combat arts and abilities. You won't be learning any new ones as time goes on, so take a real good look at the ones you have. Study them, learn them, love them. You would be surprised how much a character can do, even within their class. For example, Edelgard's only in axe classes, but sword prowess gives decent avoid and allows her to hit accurately against sword foes that will have Axebreaker. The same goes for Dimitri, who would instead want to use swords to avoid the hard-hitting axe users that have Lancebreaker, or use lances to hit the dodgy assassins. The combat arts that they have might fit whatever build you give them. 3 combat arts for one weapon can be nice if the effects are different, but sometimes you might need weapon variety instead. These combat arts can be changed to each map, so once again, take your time to prepare, and think about what you'll need. The Grounder combat art gives flying effectiveness, for example. This is good, but if Claude and Ash are already awesome at using bows, do they really need Grounder? They could use a different combat art instead. Similarly with abilities, think about exactly what kind of numbers you're looking at. For example, some characters have resistance +2, but if they have HP +5, they'll be tankier overall, as long as they're not getting hit with too many magic attacks at once. Depending on the way you build your character though, you might need both. Another example would be skills that have overlapping effects. Violet has Battalion Vantage and Vantage. Together, these might seem a little redundant, but you could also argue that because there are 2 ways to activate the skill, it's a lot easier to use, and if you're using a Killing Edge, you might be willing to gamble on that. Another example is Dimitri, whose Battalion Wrath skill increases critical hit rate by 50. It can be combined with the hero class's Vantage skill and Ash's Retribution Gambit to turn Dimitri into a killing machine that will critical hit on anything that attacks him. However, he does start at full health every map, so it might be difficult to keep him in the area where he's at low HP, but his battalion is at 1/3 health or less. Unfortunately, an empty or dead battalion does not count as 1/3 health or less. Like this, you'll need to continue to weigh the pros and cons of each combination of skills. Even though it's Chapter 1, you start with some money and smithing stones. On hard mode, it's 3,000 gold and 20 smithing stones to be exact. The numbers and visuals will continue to be from hard mode, but that just means that those on normal mode will have more breathing room. For example, hard mode gets 10 smithing stones at the end of each chapter. Normal mode gets 30 smithing stones. Be frugal, but also allow yourself to buy things. Dimitri with a Steel Lance Plus on Chapter 1 can kill every assassin in one hit with the Tempest Lance combat art specifically. If you buy him a Killing Edge, those critical hits from Battalion Wrath are even more likely to happen. Like this, continue to think about what exactly you might need. Generally, iron weapons have the lowest weight, making them good for follow-up attacks. Steel weapons have the highest durability. They're good for using combat arts. Silver weapons deal the highest damage. They're lighter than steel, and so they're also okay for making follow-up attacks. They do have low durability though, which means that using a combat art with them is very costly. This mode, like portions of the main game, will try to fake you out. Sometimes you'll see something you think you should have interacted with, so you check it out only for nothing to happen. If you're unlucky, things might even get worse. You can always Divine Pulse in order to rewind mistakes, but also try to tough it out. You have a limited number of pulses after all. Remember that the RNG also won't change unless you change your actions. Remember what they say about insanity?
Oh no! I knew something didn't feel right!
Did you know that resetting the game will reset the RNG for the whole map? This includes level ups, which are set per chapter attempt. Once you beat a chapter, you're brought to the Abyss. On top of the rewards you get, your Sword of the Creator will recharge every time you come here. 5 uses on hard, and completely on normal. There's also an Abyss Keeper who's the second most important thing in Abyss. The first most important thing, the most important thing, is Chrysler Row over here. Chrysalis Row has equipment that you can use, given out in each chapter. The items are set, which makes future playthroughs easier to plan for. before spending any smithing stones on additional forges or repairs. Wait to see what's here. You might get a cheap weapon out of it. Forging an iron sword for a few hundred gold and 2 stones is much better than paying the full price up front. And it's a great way to expand the weapon variety of your characters. Remember that things can be bought from the prep screen as well, so you can wait it out until you've actually seen the next map. The prep screen might also be where you end up selling bullions. You may forget in the middle of a battle, but a decent amount of enemies drop them. Sell them for gold and plan out your next purchases. The next map introduces us to the Ashen Wolves as playable units. Unlike your starting roster, these guys are pretty much best off in their original classes. Yuri's the only one with an additional reclass, Intermediate Class Thief, which he can use to steal once in a Blue Sea Moon. Realistically though, Trickster's better for him. It's much simpler to figure out what they're meant to do compared to the above grounders, but feel free to experiment with them anyway. Yuri in particular has tons of options due to his foul play ability, which uses an ally's placement instead of his own for location calculations. His ring lets him use leftover movement like a cavalier, and walls won't stop him from teleporting. This map is also a good time to reclass Hilda to Pegasus Knight. She'll be able to disregard stairs and walls alike, letting her stand in more places to support her allies. It also gives Yuri a third flyer to teleport, which will inconvenience his teleport buddy a little less than if they were infantry. They do have to be on terrain that he can stand on post-teleport though. Another useful tool to keep in mind is Happy's Banshee spell. It reduces enemy movement by 5. With her Canto ability and all her spells gaining additional range from her class, this spell can be safely used on enemies that have more than 5 movement. This can be used on assassins to slow their charge, or any mounted unit to slow theirs, or stop them at the top of a staircase. Everything that I've said though has merely been a suggestion. These are tips from someone who's played the game, but I'm not infallible. I hope that what I've said has been able to help, but don't take my word as gospel. Oh, and before I forget, Fortress Knight Edelgard is like really good for this map. I mean, I find that she barely takes any damage at all, and I can be as reckless as I want. Yuri's foul play ability also allows me to... Okay, but like if my Edelgard was at full health, I could have absolutely done that.